By popular demand after this tweet went viral on the internet, today we're talking about that time that 8 Marines went toe-to-toe against DARPA's artificial intelligence in an epic battle of wits and won.
Inconceivable!
Okay, so here's the deal. That tweet is a picture of half a page from a book that hasn't even come out yet. That book is For Battlegrounds by Paul Scher, and it comes out next month, February 2023. And I actually reached out and got a hold of Paul to get the whole story, and here's what I found out. Once upon a time in 2019, DARPA had a program known as Squad X. The overall goal of this program was to be able to integrate an autonomous AI with an infantry unit, RoboGrunt. They wanted to make RoboGrunt. Basically, they were going to take an artificial intelligence, shove it inside of a flying drone or a little car drone or inside of a robot dog, and it was going to follow the grunts out into battle and act as an early warning system. Using cameras and sensors, it would be able to identify enemies from way further out than a human ever could. Not a terrible idea. So DARPA got to work, they built the robots, they built the AI, but then they actually had to train the AI how to identify people. And apparently the best way to do this was by just actually doing it. So they brought in 8 Marines for a week to help train this artificial intelligence. And for the first 6 days, it went great. Basically, the AI just watched the Marines walk around and do things a human would do, while the computer engineers helped teach the algorithm what it was looking at. But then on the 7th day, DARPA would make a classic tactical error by challenging the Marines. Apparently, with only 6 days of training, they wanted to see how well their artificial intelligence would stack up against the Marine Corps' 100% organic cran-fed fuckery. I'm gonna give you a hint, it didn't go well. The challenge was they were gonna set the robot up out in the open, and the Marines had to start from like 1,000 yards away, and they had to sneak up on the robot and touch it without ever being identified as a human. As soon as they said go, the first 2 Marines took off doing somersaults for the entire 1,000 yards. They made it all the way to the robot completely unidentified. And I can only assume that it is at this point that the computer engineers realized that they were gonna have a bad day, because it only got more ridiculous from there. Another Marine went out in the woods, stripped all the branches off of a fir tree, dressed himself up like a tree, and then slowly, and I quote, walked like a fir tree all the way to the robot. And then my personal favorite example, 2 Marines found a large box and then proceeded to do the old Metal Gear Solid trick where they use the Amazon Prime print camouflage to sneak all the way up to the robot and touch it. According to the author, you could actually hear them audibly giggling from inside the box the entire time. And this raises one very important question. How mad were these engineers? So I asked the author.
Well, in this case, I mean, it's a DARPA project, so it's just experimental, and they're trying to push the bounds. I don't know, I can't speak to the engineers. I mean, they might not have appreciated it. Maybe they did appreciate someone highlighting these problems. The program manager who relayed the anecdote to me was really pleased because they learned something. Right, they learned about the limitations of the system, and you'd really much rather find that out in a training environment than when you do it overseas in a war zone and the enemy does it. But it's good that they found it out early rather than before they'd invested hundreds of millions of dollars into this.
Okay, fine. Well, if he's not going to speak for the engineers, that leaves it open to my interpretation, and I think it went something like this.
I hate them!
In conclusion, I think the big takeaway from this story is that artificial intelligence is nowhere near ready to go toe-to-toe with the American grunt on the battlefield. Because regardless of how smart it is or how smart it gets, it's never going to be able to figure out what the grunts are doing until they're already doing it. Because the grunts don't know what they're doing until they're doing it. And you can't be 3 steps ahead of somebody that never knows where they're going. Because at the end of the day, historically speaking, the American military's only ever had one plan, and that's to show up and improvise. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, thank you for watching. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch at thefatelectrician.com. Quack bang out.